This episode is brought to you by New Moon Wishing, a self-care guidebook for wishful thinkers. Please see the link in the show notes. Welcome to Starzology Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here again.
So nice to see you. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about Jupiter in the houses.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about Jupiter in the natal houses. Yeah. So first, we're just going to have a quick look about what Jupiter represents in a chart.
Yeah.
And we do like some keywords, don't we?
We love keywords.
Yes.
Keywords are our friends. And I have a couple of quotes from the Saint Stephen Arroyo, our favorite.
Yes.
He wrote a wonderful book called Exploring Jupiter, an Astrological Key to Progress, Prosperity, and Potential. And there are 3 keywords for you right there.
Yes.
Right off the top.
What were they again? Let's have them.
Prosperity, progress, and potential.
This is a great planet, isn't it? It's a good planet.
It's a wonderful planet. So he says on the back of the book, more than any other planet in the birth chart, Jupiter emphasizes the future. Envisioning, planning, improving, taking risks based on faith, and developing one's potential. Jupiter is an important key for growth for anyone, and as the ancient ruler of both Sagittarius and Pisces, it is especially significant for anyone with those signs prominent in their horoscope. Yeah. So it rules your sense of future direction and purpose, how you develop your confidence and your self-esteem, where you should take leaps of faith in order to manifest your greatest potential, and where you have a special breadth of vision and intuitive perception that can lead to an expanded scope of activity and understanding. Yeah.
And what would you say that would make Jupiter prominent in a horoscope?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you do have it in Sagittarius or
Yes,
Pisces, obviously, because
exactly.
then it's in their rulership, but also if it makes any personal aspects to like your sun, your ascendant, your moon, your Mercury.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if it makes any aspects to a personal planet at all, or, gosh, I mean...
First house, 10th house, yeah. Prominent.
I think I have it...
In your face, Jupiter's.
Yeah. And even if it makes an aspect to like an outer planet, but like a tight... I think I have like Jupiter trine Neptune or something, and it's a very tight aspect. I think I might even have Jupiter square Pluto. And this is just off the top of my head. I know I have Jupiter in very tight aspect to a couple of outer planets, which is interesting. It's not conjunct or anything to my personal planets because it's in Aquarius. I have nothing in Aquarius, my personal Jupiter. But yeah,
okay.
It's one of those weird ones where I think anything it touches, because Jupiter is so big, it is so big and expansive, and it does this thing where it's almost like the sun in the chart a little bit, in that whatever it touches, it shines a light on it, expands it, it supercharges it. It's kind of like jumper cables or like those paddles they use in
gives you a shock, gives you a charge. I do like Jupiter. Jupiter's I think great. It's a planet for growth and expansion, and sometimes, yes, it can go over the top, but in general, it's where you can do good things in your life, and why not?
Yeah, and I think in a few other previous episodes, I've talked about like the Jupiterian personality, and we talk about like Winston Churchill being a Jupiterian personality, or like Anthony Robbins, what's the word? The speaker, the motivational speaker, that's the word.
Tony Robbins,
Tony, yes, exactly. And he, Pisces, like just a big, giant personality. Big, giant smile, bounds around the stage, leaps around, and he just wants to make everyone's life better and bigger, and he wants to make you wealthy and make himself wealthy. And it's all about just supercharging your life.
I think I love it. I love Jupiter. I think it's a great planet. I really do.
Yeah.
It's one of those that, if it's there, we all have a Jupiter. And honestly, even when it's retrograde, it's a pretty good planet still. So I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, interestingly, when you read about the aspects, they always will say, even if it's a square, it's probably pretty good if it's Jupiter,
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to be looking at Jupiter going through each of the 12 houses, or we're in the natal chart. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So we'll then start clearly with Jupiter in the first house.
Yeah. I mean, this would be a big personality, I would think. This is like right there. It's your ego. It's your, depending on, I mean, if it's conjunct the ascendant, that would certainly be like a person who, when they walk in the room, you notice.
Yes,
you know?
yes. We had one super choopy, right?
Yeah.
Tall, big, impressive.
Big hair. Big motorcycle.
I know, right? Who'd have thought?
Yeah, you got to make an entrance when you got Jupiter in the first house or conjunct the ascendant.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jupiter in the first house, and this is again quoting from Stephen Arroyo's book. Keywords are identity in action. I love that. Identity in action, good vitality, an optimistic outlook, an upbeat temperament, and people with this placement are, you know, they tend to be optimistic or like just have a fiery kind of aspect, even if they don't have it in a fire sign. Ringo Starr is an interesting example.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, like just a big, you know, big head, big smile, big personality, big drum kit, whatever, you know. And he says you can't have a much better placement than Jupiter in the first house.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think it's great.
You're definitely cheerful.
It's going to dominate.
Minded.
It's going to dominate a chart if you've got that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
How about Jupiter in the second?
I mean, well, its second house is the house of your wealth and your
stuff,
material security. It's an earthy house, so it could be, you know, a little bit narrower than the first house, which is all about your identity and your personality and your big persona. But if you want to build wealth or build an empire, you know, you couldn't hope for a better
massive income
than Jupiter in the second.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great place for income generation and Yeah,
I mean, the examples here of people, Winston Churchill apparently had that, and Margaret Thatcher, weirdly enough. I don't have any opinion on that, per se. You, as a British adjacent mate? No. Okay, yeah, we're
politics.
not together. Composers Debussy and Mozart apparently both had Jupiter in the second house, which is interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, those are more about like your craft, maybe about your income, but also about what you produce.
Yes.
And the things you value and the things other people value that you can create.
And it's also potential income. Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
I often use this symbolism for Jupiter of a hot air balloon, that it's all a great big colourful, you can't miss it, but it's really doesn't always have substance.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is potential for income.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And a couple of more keywords that are from this book. It has to do with the contentment and the ability to enjoy life.
Oh.
So even if you're not wealthy, it could be someone who maybe puts forth the aspect of being wealthier than they are. And you've talked about people thinking that you know, are wealthier or more powerful than you are. And that's, I think, something that you would definitely see with Jupiter in the second house, is someone who like has a sort of a regal bearing, as they say, maybe, you know, or at least the ability to enjoy to the utmost what they have.
Yes.
Like even if it's just like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, it's like they present it with aplomb.
Oh, presentation is everything. Yes.
Says the Leo.
Great.
Yeah, it's a good one. Jupiter in the third house, and this is where I have it.
Okay.
Yes. And it's in Aquarius, which I don't know, is that a great place? It's whatever, you know.
It's not here nor there.
I consider it
Peregrine.
It's the information junkie placement. This is where...
That is you.
This is my bookshelf. This is my hundreds of books.
Bulging book. And we still need to count on those books, by the way.
I believe it was 800.
Oh, you haven't hit the 1,000.
No, it's not 1,000 something. It's
I
mean, I think 800-ish books is
so do
pretty
I.
respectable.
I'm thinking we should tell our listeners to send Arwynne some books.
But please don't. I don't plan on moving anytime soon, but God, moving with books is the worst.
Yes. Impressive.
Yeah, but...
So this is it. You have a vast library of information.
Yeah, and even more so, it's the fact that I'm constantly listening to audiobooks.
What do you mean, every day?
Literally every day. I'm listening to
every waking
audiobook.
moment.
Not every wake, but I mean, if I'm working out, if I'm going to sleep, if I'm lying in bed, if
information's going in.
It's coming in. Yeah, I don't ever need to just sit in silence.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not one of those people. I don't need let's just turn everything off and just sit here. No. Never. Oh my
Wow.
God. No, and if I have to, God,
Vast bookshelves.
and I'm not someone who wants to go to the gym and count reps. Like, that is the biggest nightmare for me. Like, oh, I'm going to count reps. God, no.
Yes.
No, I just want to plug into something that's engrossing and that's going to take me away from the fact that I'm trudging away up the stairs or...
And it's not novels, it's
information.
It's non-fiction, stuff you can
history
use.
Or science or like some biography.
Goodness.
I mean, like the lowest bottom of the barrel that I'll get is like sometimes like I'll do true crime, but it's got to be like it's got to be really well written true crime. It can't just be some like like murder of the week sort of thing. Although I have been known to listen to a couple of murder of the week podcasts, which is neither here nor there.
It's interesting that because it's knowledge and information coming together.
Exactly.
And you are a vast font of knowledge, aren't you, on all sorts of things. Not every topic, no.
So. But honestly, that's one of the biggest compliments that someone can give me. When someone tells me, wow, you have a story for everything. Or like, God, you just...
Here you are, podcasting.
And it sounds so...
Broadcasting.
It sounds awful. Like, as a Virgo, I shrink at the thought of like, oh, this compliment. But honestly, when someone has said, I learned all this new vocabulary from you, or... you're knowledgeable about all these different things, that it's so heartwarming. It's like the best compliment you can give me. And this is totally my Jupiter in the third house. It's just like that is what causes my little ego to like blossom like a sunflower.
Wow. So interesting. And as I say, because we're on this podcast business, and this is third house stuff anyway, right?
Yeah.
Getting it out there.
Sharing the knowledge. Yeah.
Sharing knowledge, whether you like it or not, it's coming your way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jupiter in the fourth house. These are the keywords are action on the emotional and soul level. So this is not just the house of the home, which it is. It's the house of the home. It's the house of your childhood, but it's also the house of like the basic level of your personality.
Right.
So that I see that.
Yes.
You want to say it in Latin?
The emunculi.
There you go.
I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that's how I say it. Yeah. It'll do for now.
You will. That'll do. Exactly. And it's
your foundation, your core foundation.
Exactly. So if you have Jupiter in the fourth house, maybe you came from a big family.
Yes.
Or maybe family was super important. Or maybe you have...
the culture, yeah.
Yeah, and your culture is important to you, your history. These are the kind of people maybe who will like delve into like Ancestry.com or be like the scribe for their family, or the archaeologist. Exactly. Oh my gosh, what could be more Jupiter in the fourth house than
digging down.
Indiana Jones.
We're going to have to go down another layer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great.
Super interesting. George Patton apparently had that placement, which is fascinating. Yeah.
All right, let's have a look at Jupiter in the fifth.
And I believe you have this placement.
I do.
And what is it in? What sign?
It's in Scorpio.
Ooh, nice.
I know. Jupiter in the fifth. Yes, a lot of children, and yes, it's true.
You do have that.
I do. I have 4 children, 4 little darlings. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I know. I never thought I would, but here we go. Yeah. But that's not the end of it. I mean, as you'll get to, it's more about the creativity and whatnot.
Creativity. Yeah. It's about gambling, which we've talked about in the past.
We don't need to...
Your wonderful stories of gambling and the wonderful crazy South African gambling casinos where you took your winnings away in a paper bag.
I know. Well, it's the risk, you see. It's the, let's have a flutter. Okay, then.
Yeah.
I do pick and choose, but not all the time. But I'm there. I'm game for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And do you think that that having that in Scorpio, possibly that weird, dark, sort of not quite on the up and up level of gambling establishment, that do you think that was possibly part of the attraction? You're not going to like the Sands in Vegas.
Vegas is my favorite city. It's a live.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome, good.
I definitely am penciling in a weekend in Vegas because it's
Love it.
The lights, the music, the noise, the gambling, the anonymity of it all as well.
I found Vegas terrifying. And no, but I mean, at first, like when we first checked into the hotel, I was like, oh my God. It's so like, it's just on. It's like, and more so than New York City. like we checked into the hotel in Times Square, and I felt like I was home. But when I first went to Vegas, I was like, oh my God, this is
I'm roaming Vegas. I can wear my gold lame full outfit like Elvis. Nobody bats an eyelid.
I mean, yeah, that is true. No one does bat an eye. That is great. And I do like the fact that you can just walk from place to place and just like be carrying a drink. No one cares. If you pretend to gamble, someone will give you a free drink. That's nice. I do enjoy that. I'm not much of a gambler, but
I'm not really.
I'm in the fifth house, so you know.
I haven't. Yeah, it's not that I'm in a casino. I've been in a casino since COVID, but if someone said, "Hey, well, let's go this," I'd be there. Mm-hmm. But I do think, to be honest, it's more about
creativity.
The creativity. It's a key word in my life. It's. I cannot. We haven't got time to talk about how much I do every day that's related to this and that, and little projects on the go.
Since I'm not you, I can just say, like, scanning around the room. Let's just go like left or right. Like we've got a massive painting that you did that's hanging right above the table where we're recording, and this is one of those like 4 by 6 foot paintings that it's just a beautiful seascape. And
it's English Bay.
I remember when this was something else, and you had made this project to paint over it, and you were like, I don't know, I just don't. I have the frame, and
it was an IKEA red bus in black and white. That
one of those generic ass IKEA things, and we all
my
have
husband
them.
bought. And I thought, what the hell did you buy this painting for? He said, well, I needed something 6 foot by 4.
It's a great way to get a frame.
And that's what you picked.
It's a great way to get a frame.
Hideous.
Yeah. But you painted over it, and now it's this wonderful English bay, and I love it. And so that's just panning.
Thank you.
Panning from side to side. Then you've got the beautiful plants. You've got like watercolors. You've got bookcases with flowers. You've got sunflowers. You've got charts. You've got wonderful native art.
Yes.
And that's just like going like...
I'm running out of wall.
That's like just doing like a 90-degree sweep. Like I'm not even turning my head.
This is your
backwards.
bookcase. This is me. I'm running out of wall to hang my stuff on.
Yeah, but this is Jupiter in the 5th house. There's an abundance of creative energy, and it's...
I want to be, as I'm going through my day, I want to say inspired by colour, particularly. I don't like moody art at all. I like bright, colourful art with potential, and art that's got a story, and even the art you brought me from this woman with the yellow canoe thing. It's like, where's she going? Where's the journey?
Beautiful family friend painting. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Laurie Strong, if anyone...
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, Laurie Strong. Wonderful artist. But yeah, it's framed here. It's yellow. It's bringing that Leo spirit.
But it's showing its potential. Where's this going? And there's always a story in the art that I like to have. It's not just... I can't just have an old IKEA 6 foot by 4 foot thing hanging up there. And I'm thinking...
A bunch of circles or...
Yeah, and this really was my late husband, who hadn't got an artistic bone in his body, I'm telling you. And I said, well, I had to be 6 foot by 4 to fill the wall. And I'm thinking, and you measured it? Yeah. And I'm thinking, is that it? That's how you pick the art? And maybe many people do. I need a big piece to go on the wall.
Why do you think IKEA sells art?
Well, clearly.
That's exactly how a lot of people think. Yeah.
We need a big piece to go on the wall.
For me, it's like, that's a great way to get a frame.
A frame.
Super cheap.
Right.
And you can just put your own thing in it.
Well, that's what eventually
That's where half of my frames come from, is IKEA.
Yeah.
They're not free, but...
No. IKEA's great for that. But
oh my God, yeah.
This took me the whole summer, the year before last, and I thought, I have to get rid of this overpowering grey thing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, but I digress.
Jupiter in the 5th.
Yeah.
I love that.
Alrighty. So, how are we doing about Jupiter in the 6th?
Well, okay, so the key word here is learning on the material level, which is interesting. I love the fact that, I mean, the 6th house, a lot of people have trouble sort of grokking the 6th house, and it is the native house of Virgo, which is a little...
It's work, isn't it?
A bummer. Yeah, it's like work. I mean,
it's doing the laundry.
Your day-to-day things. And it's not a super exciting house, but it is also the house of learning, as he says, on the material level. And it's about the prodigious capacity for work and the ability to carry out your duties and daily routines with an unusually cheerful outlook. So your daily work, or the practical use of your activities and your craftiness, or what you will actually put your hands on, that kind of thing, can be a source of joy and optimism when you have this placement, which is super interesting.
It's good, isn't it? That you hone your craft in the 6th house. You do whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
Yeah. Jules Verne apparently had this placement.
Is that right? I loved his books.
There you go. Exactly. That's doing it right. You know. Yeah. Yeah.
So how about Jupiter then in the 7th?
Okay. So obviously the 7th house is the house of relationships. It's the house of partnerships. It's the house of business partnerships. The house of you complete me. So this is maybe the placement of someone who marries the person with all of the talent, or
or the Sagittarius or something.
Yeah, or they shine the light on the other person, and maybe they become famous and well known through their partnerships, or through having a spectacular outlook on relationships in some way. So a couple of celebrity examples here are, weirdly, David O. Selznick, the filmmaker, and F. Scott Fitzgerald. And famously, F. Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda Fitzgerald, their relationship was incredibly fraught and incredibly inspiring in good and bad ways. They were both incredibly talented writers. And what he wrote about was a lot about relationships and yearning and the projection of your personality and your yearnings onto the other.
Right.
Like that I can't remember, was it Daisy in The Great Gatsby? It was like this the projection, the symbol of like this ideal woman. And it's not, he's not describing himself, because the enigma of the character, the main character in that book, is mainly seen through his interactions with other people, which is a really interesting thing about Jupiter in the 7th house.
Yes, I think with this placement that your partner is the bigger personality.
Yeah.
They are probably opening doors for you, almost.
Yeah, or somehow enabling you. Or you put them on a pedestal and you see them as the light of your life.
Yeah, the well-read, the well-traveled person.
Right, so you're like the Pygmalion and they're the Galatea, or what have you, to put it in weird mythological story.
Well, why not? Let's go there.
Exactly. But yeah, it's an interesting placement. I don't know if it would be an ideal placement, because it's kind of strange to want to project your Jupiter onto somebody else, but I mean, Jupiter is never going to be like it's never going to be a bad thing. So yeah. It's a weird one though, because it's hard to sort of pin down.
Yes.
In the 7th house.
I mean, what does your partner look like when you've got Jupiter in the 7th?
Right.
Are they overweight? Are they tall?
And how do you see them?
Are they of a different culture?
Right.
So
Interesting.
so there's definitely something different about them that reflects on you, really. Says more about what you are, or who you are.
Or maybe you're projecting something onto them.
Yes.
That you're creating this facade of like this person is your creation, or your
guru.
Yeah.
All right. Oh.
Interesting.
All right. So let's have a look at then when Jupiter's in the 8th house.
So 8th house, it's emotional and soul security. This is the keywords from Stephen Arroyo here. And the 8th house is the house of death, and it's taxes, and it's the inevitables of life. It's the house of the native house of Scorpio. So it's not like a happy, fluffy house necessarily, but this, this can be a placement of, we just can come out and say of sexual conquest, excesses. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know where exactly Magic Johnson has Jupiter, but this is the kind of thing. This is the excesses, or your rock star who has 1,000 conquests under his belt, or what have you.
This is it.
But that projection, that big sexual personality, or that big terrifying personality of maybe the
mob or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the mob boss, or the.
Well, astrology, because Jupiter is your uncle's, right? So it's always kind of some guy who has slight influence over you because it's a family connection in some way, but not directly.
Yeah.
But of course, in English slang, your uncle is your pawnbroker, your PAWN broker. So
I love the double entendre.
I know.
Yeah.
So you've got that as well. It's someone where you would go and say, well, can you Can you? I'm going to pour my engagement ring and give me $1,000. But
anyone else who watches The Bear, it's like it's that guy who puts up the money for the restaurant. But then
it's the guy who puts up the money. It really is.
Got his hands in the thing, and he's like, "Yeah, but if you fail, I'm taking everything." And you're like, "But I won't fail." And he's like, "You better fuck.
You'll be swimming with the fishes." Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot to that. Yeah. Also, because we do know that 8th house is debt, and I'll tell you, in this day and age, this is what comes through a lot, is that people are buried in excessive of debt.
Oh, gosh, so much so.
Because the banks say, I can extend your credit limit to $14,000. Just click here. Yeah. And they do, and they spend more. And
it's so predatory. It's so awful. The minute I started college, the minute I signed up for a student loan, I was getting applications in the mail.
Yes.
Instantly.
Yes.
And they want you in debt.
But when you've got Jupiter in the 8th house, you are likely to get into debt because people give it to you.
Yeah.
You're not fighting to say, I need a bigger mortgage. No. They're saying, here's another $14,000.
Can you handle it?
And I know when my kids went to university, I said to them, you are not allowed to sign up for a bank account. Yeah. No matter what they tell you, you're not allowed to do it. And they're all saying it. I said, bring the form home.
Yeah.
I'm not having it,
Yeah.
But that's what happens, is that you get into debt because Jupiter is giving it to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you're not scrapping for it.
No, and the economy runs on debt.
We don't like that, do we?
We do not.
We do not like that. I don't.
No, it's awful. Here are some celebrity examples, and make of this what you will. So this is a bit of the dark side, light side thing. James Dean, Clint Eastwood, Henry Winkler, and Vincent Price.
Okay, Vincent Price.
Gosh.
He made his money with being Dracula, right?
Yeah, like the voice of like doom, that wonderful interlude in Michael Jackson's Thriller, Vincent Price. I mean, that's how I was introduced to him as a child of the 80s, but yeah. People
used to say, do you know him? I say, yes, he's my uncle. And they're, Amazing. All righty. So let's have a look at Jupiter in the 9th house.
Yeah, and so learning on the level of identity. So when learning is your identity.
You are the tutor,
the teacher, the perpetual student, the scholar of life, the world traveler,
the preacher.
I'm picturing Doctor Strange. I've been watching a lot of Marvel movies this last couple of weeks, and this Jupiter in the 9th house is just all Doctor Strange. I mean, that's just what I picture. Yeah. So there you go, Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it's the person who is the perpetual student, the one who goes to university and never leaves, and they're getting their second BA, and I know people like this. I'm thinking, and then what are you going to do? Then I'll get another one. I'm thinking, really? And they're on this quest for knowledge.
Yeah. Actually, Doctor Strange isn't because he was a surgeon originally, and then he became a master of the mystic arts. What could be better than that? The ascended master of Jupiter in the 9th house, right?
Yeah. And it's your guru when it's in the 9th house, isn't it? Sure. Your leader, your spiritual leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about philosophy. It's about education. It's about culture. It's about...
But these are high-level topics, you see. Yeah. These are not your basic, have I got a meal on the table?
And this is also the native house of... It's because Sagittarius is the native house of the 9th house side. So it's Jupiter in its own house, basically. So
it's also the house of publishing, which is the only house that actually has an occupation.
Right.
And I may have said this previously, but the first time, or in recent memory, or a while ago, whatever, years ago, when Jupiter first went through my 9th house and I was paying attention, that was when I had my first astrology article published in Dell Horoscope, and I got paid.
Yeah.
As a professional writer, astrologer. As the publication went out, I thought,
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
So if you want to publish something or other, or get your word out there, that's the time to do it. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And don't worry about if it's good enough or if it's original, blah, 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 blah. That's the moment. This is why we watch these cycles, is just taking advantage of that moment.
If you've got all this stuff that's coming up, publish it when Jupiter's going through your 9th by transit, particularly. Okay.
A couple of more celebrity examples. Apparently, Bertrand Russell.
Okay.
Jupiter in the 9th. and Robert Redford, which is beautiful, and apparently Franklin D. Roosevelt. So
Okay.
yeah, if you have this placement, you're in good company.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at Jupiter in the 10th house
Yeah,
then.
absolutely.
This has got to be a good one.
Yeah. Action on the material level is what Stephen Arroyo says. I think that might be putting it mildly, because the 10th house, I mean, it's the exalted, it's what it's not like the ascendant, it's the midheaven, so it's your face to the world, essentially. It's not just your facade, it's how you make your mark in the world. It's your career. It's
how the world knows you.
How the world knows you.
It's your reputation.
Your reputation.
Your LinkedIn profile. It really is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So what are we saying? That you look bigger on paper than you actually are?
Could be.
Promoting, self-promotion must be second nature.
Apparently Nelson Rockefeller had this position.
Wow.
So it's not always a facade. Sometimes it's real.
Sometimes it's real.
Yeah.
So it will be to do with fame as well. And
Yeah, apparently he had Jupiter in Leo in the 10th.
Oh,
so,
well,
I mean, you
say
can't
no
really,
more.
what could you ask for?
Yes. So there's going to be growth and prosperity coming through career work and what you do in the world.
For sure. And apparently Muhammad Ali as well.
Wow.
And Auguste Rodin. So it's not always about, finding happiness and fulfillment, during your lifetime. Oh, Orson Welles, geez, wow. I mean, you can't really get a bigger personality.
No,
really.
no.
I mean, that's...
girth.
I love me some Orson Welles. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I know.
Citizen
The
Kane.
more of him to love, as far as I'm concerned.
There you go.
He's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at Jupiter in the 11th.
Okey-doke. So social and intellectual security is what Stephen Arroyo says. So with this placement, you tend to be idealistic, dreamers, and schemers, and you may be strongly motivated by optimistic goals and hopes and wishes on a humanitarian or progressive level.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Growth for the group, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So these kinds of, I think, what is it, community organizer, that buzzword? Maria Montessori, apparently.
Okay.
So someone who created a new educational model.
System, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a really good example of that done right.
So you're likely to have a large friend group,
Yeah.
loads of associates, people on your list,
Yeah.
know people.
Yeah, and these are the people who, when you say your network is your most important asset, and that most people get their jobs through their network. I've never found that to be true for myself, but I've got Jupiter in the 3rd house. I don't have Jupiter in the 11th. When you do have Jupiter in the 11th, that's probably when that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's true, isn't it? It's all to do with your contacts. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. So choose your friends wisely.
Clearly.
Yeah. So Jupiter in the 12th house, learning on the emotional and soul level. So this is another one where it's in its own house because Jupiter also rules Pisces. So this is someone who has an active fantasy life. They're full of imagination, dreams, goals for the future, idealism, philanthropy, abundant giving.
Yes.
Possibly a need for solitude or reflection or meditative moments. But that is part of their personality. That's part of what fuels them. It's not a retreat. It's like a sanctum. And maybe they can build something from that.
Right. It's a very spiritual placement. It's the anonymous donor giving. Yeah.
There you go.
They don't need the bells and whistles and, hey, look what I gave.
Right. It's
They're
not
just
the Tony
doing
Robbins.
it.
It's
They're just doing dare I say, doing the right thing. If you have excess, give it to those who need it. And they don't shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
So, but they may be, withdrawn because clearly that must be a subdued Jupiter when it's in the 12th house.
Yeah,
right?
but it's a deep meaning. It's like the humanitarian aspect of their personality is a deeply embedded thing, and it's not about the glory that comes from it, but it's about really wanting to make an important change in the world and feeling that they can do that.
Are they the Messiah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Interestingly, Greta Garbo, who famously said, "I want to be left alone."
Oh my Lord!
And apparently,
there you
Jupiter in the
go.
12th house.
And that's what she's known for.
Right? Yeah, the silent film star who, when the talkies came around, she was like, "No, I cannot."
Yeah, there is a withdrawing, and Yeah, it's got to be the case, and it's got to be an interesting position to have, actually.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not all hiding away. There's obviously, celebrities will have this. Apparently, Paul Newman as well. Obviously, well known for philanthropy, hugely well known for philanthropy, and Henry Miller as well. H.G. Wells, interesting,
right?
And Lord Byron.
Well, there you are.
Bad and dangerous to know.
Well, there you go. So it is interesting when Jupiter comes through, because each different sort of keywords for Jupiter are brought forward depending on which house it's in.
Yeah, for sure.
So where we've got excesses, they will come up in some of the, I want to say, the earthy houses. And when you've got these abundance, they'll come up in other houses too.
Yeah.
So it's depending which house your Jupiter's in will actually give information about how it's likely to express itself.
Yeah.
And which keywords of Jupiter are likely to come forward in those particular houses.
Yeah, because the house is the place that you carry out that aspect of your personality, and the sign is the character that it takes.
Yes.
So it's like in a play.
Yeah.
It's like the setting is the house, and the sign it's in is the persona.
Yeah, it's a nice planet. I like Jupiter for keywords for growth and potential.
Yeah, potential is a wonderful word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone has potential. You just have to lean into it, I think.
Right,
so.
Exactly. Find your thing.
Yeah, what is your... If it's books or if it's stuff on the wall, it's... Yeah. It shows through your Jupiter where you've got lots of stuff.
Yeah.
That's where Jupiter is.
Yeah.
In your books and so on, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've spoken about Jupiter in the houses. We've gone through Jupiter in each of the 12 houses and spoken about some people who had it and given some reflections on our personal Jupiter houses too. And for our listeners, you need to just see where your Jupiter is and understand how that's working for you.
Yeah, definitely.
If you found value in this episode and think it's thought-provoking, do consider sharing it with someone who would be interested. I invite you to join our newsletter, which goes out every Sunday, and you get there by going to starzology.com/newsletter, so you don't miss a thing. You can also check out Arwynne's offerings at mspink.net, that's mspink.net, where she's discussing all sorts of books and movies and what have you and what's going down.
Yep.
She's got a broad approach there, and if you've loved our podcast, you're going to love what she's got to offer too. You can visit our website at starzology.com.
Send us questions.
Yes, and we do our Q&As now and again, and you can, if you're on the podcast listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can click the link at the top that says send your questions to Starzology, and you can text us your question, give us your name at the bottom, and we will answer your questions at our next Q&A.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you're on YouTube, that link isn't working and won't because of YouTube, but what can you do?
Yeah.
And so we'd love to hear from you. And so thank you so much for listening. Arwynne, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you for inviting me. This has been great.
Yeah, it's a pleasure always. So thanks so much to our listeners, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.